Okay, this is chapter 3.2b, which is actually your homework video. It's a little different, and I'll tell you right now, hopefully you're listening, not just watching, that you can fast forward. I don't suggest that you fast forward. I suggest that you use a little discipline, and if necessary, stop the video if you have something else to do and just continue on from later. But if you see the answers, there's no way to unsee the answers, which means you're really not getting the practice that you need. But again, it's going to require a little bit of discipline on your side, but as long as you're honest with yourself, you'll definitely learn what's needed for this section. I will begin the video with a couple of practice problems. After that, I'll move on to what I call your homework problems. The arrangement will help you only if you follow the directions, which first is to pause video when prompted. So when I tell you just pause the video, because I'm only going to count to 5 and then move on. So if you don't pause the video, you're going to actually watch me work it out as you work it out, which wouldn't be the best. Second thing is, after you finished your graph, actually play the video and check step for step to make sure that what I'm doing is matching you. If you do that, which is actually how you want to do things in class when you have a teacher at the board, that's what I learned to do whenever I only got like 3 examples per problem, actually 2 sometimes, is you work it out and then you go step for step and check, and as soon as your answer starts to stray, keep a note and look to see if you can identify what you did wrong. And if you can't find that out, that's when you speak to me as soon as you can. Again, I stand there all day. I am at home and doing other things. You can always try to ask, and that's what I'm here for. I've designed my class to be online, not so I could be lazy, but so I can actually be available to everyone who needs the help, instead of having to teach 30-40 minutes a day and then you can't even access me for anything like that. But don't need to pause these first. I just want to try to make sure that we have this down and kind of get an idea on what you should be doing. And like I said, as we're getting better, the work you need to do for graphs is less and less, because, for example, I just know to cover this up and know that x is 2. I know to cover this up and know that y is what? -6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And by the way, whenever you do your graphs on paper, some of you like to just kind of put dots and draw things. You need to show how you counted. You don't need to show lines 10 all the different directions. But if I went to x is 2, somebody should be able to see that I went 2 over 6 down. Other than that, it is a solid line. And 0 is greater than 12, which is false, right? So it's going to be on this side. So I'll do the alligator teeth that way. It is best to check before you do the second graph, because otherwise you forget which one is which. Unless you label it as graph A and graph B or whatever you might do, I would just check it out first and then go from there, because again, hopefully by now you're better at doing that. Here, this you want to go up 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then down 3, 1, 2, 3, and then over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which puts me about there. Dashed line on this one. And checking 0 is greater than 4, which is also false, so we will stay on this side. And then in the end, we are looking at this section. So that's how you will end up graphing. Now, I want you to pay attention that if someone was checking my work, they can say that x is 2. Okay, there's my x equals 2. That y is -6. Hey, there's my y equals -6. They can say, hey, he went up 4 and put a dot. Down 3, 1, 2, 3, over 1, 2, 3, 4, because I have all the necessary marks. Why didn't I put any marks back here? Because there was nothing over there. And I only had 2 marks, which I had to add 2 more for my 4 over. But that is kind of how you do it. Or just go ahead and do the usual, which I see those lovely artists do, where they do like 10 marks going this way, 10 marks going that way, and you don't really need it. Whatever way works best for you. But again, as you get older, as you keep going through your math classes, your teacher does not need you to have everything. They just really are looking for you to make sure that you understand the concept. Second warm up before we get to the 10 questions that I have for you. Y and X. Now you do have to be careful, because there are graphs, I think that's why I'm doing this, to where they flipped them around. This is not x equals -2, this is y equals -2, so you want to make sure you pay attention to that. This is x equals -6, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 0 is greater than -6, which is true. So as we do this, dashed line, and it is also true, so we want to do it this way. And then on the other side, again, this is where you have to make a decision. I don't like the intercept method, but I don't really have to hate the intercept method, because I could do divide by 2 and move my y over and get 7.5 negative and put it that way. But instead, what I'm going to do is a quick algebra judo. Move this over here and get 2x minus 15 is less than negative 5y, because it doesn't matter what side y is on. And then I'm going to divide everything by negative 5 and get negative 2/5 x plus 3 less than or equal to y. And again, because the symbol doesn't matter, because when we check, that's really all that matters. All that matters is we know we're supposed to go up 3 and then down 2, 1, 2, and over 5, which is an interesting graph. I don't know where I got this from. So down 2 over 5. Does that make sense? Should be positive 3, yes, because you would divide with that. That should be negative 7 point. It should be going the other way. Is it? I don't know. We'll see. Down 2 over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I swore that would be x's negative 7.5. This is interesting. I don't know if I trust what I did. So what I will do is check this out again. The reason I'm saying this is because my x-intercept based off of what I have here would be ignore y, divide by x, which is negative 7.5, which puts my graph somewhere over here, which means that I should be going this way. But this has me going down 2 over 5, which has me going that way, which again is kind of weird. So again, always use all the tools given to you to kind of think your way through it, which is why I like to give you plenty of time to take, well, I don't know if I give you plenty of time to take your test, but I don't really design that. What did I do wrong? Let's see. Let's go ahead and move everything the way we're supposed to. So I'll move the 5 over. So 2x plus 5y equals negative 15. That might be it, that I had to set it up the right way. And then I move my part there. So, yep, because I think that's going to work. That's not equals. It's less than or equal to. And then I'm going to move my 2. 5y is less than or equal to negative 2x minus 15. And then when I divide by 5, I get y is less than or equal to negative 2/5, which is still a slope, but notice that we are now at negative 3. And so that makes more sense to me, because 1, 2, 3 would put me kind of at a slope that hits at negative 7 like I thought it should. So down 2 over 5 from here, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which should be somewhere around there. This is terrible. I did a terrible job on this. Oh, I'm assuming that's supposed to cross somewhere, but this looks like a parallel line. Give me a second. All right, so what I did, which never hurts to do whenever graphs like this start to look crazy, is I thought for some reason that this was going to be almost parallel. And because of anytime you're making your own grid and the lines are that similarly crossings, except where you have a negative slope and a positive slope, the fact that these marks are smaller and these marks are bigger throws off the proportions of the graph. And so what I did was went and got some graph paper. And so I ended up with this graph, which if you look at it, and this is official because I did actually put everything where it needs to be, it looks like it's going to meet somewhere around there. This is not no solution, by the way. No solution would be 2 parallel lines that are going this way, but these don't have the same slope. The slope of this is down 2 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whereas this is down 2 over 5. How I made that question up, I have no clue. I think I just suck at my job sometimes. But the key thing is, and I'll show you a zoomed out picture. So what's going to happen at some point is that the dashed line and this line, somewhere out in space, I'm sorry, that line is not dashed, because this slope is eventually going to catch it, and it's going to be going this way on that line, on the solid line, and this way on the dashed line, means we are going to eventually see a section show up. It just doesn't show up in our window. So as I said, that is a terrible job for your teacher. Deduct my points. take away my extra credit. I apologize for that, and I hope I didn't put anything else like that on here because that would be embarrassing. Anyway, it's always good to see me make mistakes. Just don't laugh too loud when you talk to me. So pause the video now to work out each problem. So number 3, take number 3, pause it, do as much as you know how to do, and then when you start it back up, check to see that everything you did matches everything I do. Feel free to get graph paper, however you do it. But let's just see if you have your understanding, and then that way, whenever you're in class, you can bring up the ones that you had an issue with, and I can try to see what you might have done wrong and help you not to do it again. So go ahead and pause that now. All right, so let's see. Up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 3 over 1 here. Solid line. Hope I don't do anything again. I get kind of scared when I'm outside. Honestly, I don't know if you go through it, but every time I make a mistake, I lose all faith in every decision that I make for the next 10 or so minutes or until I'm far enough away from it. 0 is less than 4, which is true, which means it goes this way. And I have to kind of, as you would call it, get my mojo back, because if I don't, then I'll walk around timid the whole time. I act like I'm confident, but I'm not always that confident. Here I am going to use the intercept as x-intercept of 1/2. If that's 1, that means that would be about there, and y of -1, which puts me there. And so my graph, again, looking at just the graph itself, would look something like this with a dashed line. Luckily, it doesn't go through 0, 0. 0 is less than 1, which is also true, I think. 0 less than 1. See, I have to double check it because I don't trust myself right now. 0 is less than 1, which is true, and I believe that's the section we are looking at all the way over here. Don't want to use all my ink, but I believe that's it. Pretty sure. 0 is less than 4, which is true, yes. 0 is less than 1, which is true, yes. Number 4, again, pause the video, I'll count to 5. All right, so, oh, this shouldn't be that bad. X is less than 3. Remember, X is counting your tick marks. There's your 3. Because the tick mark goes that way, that means we want a vertical line. Because again, the way I remembered my X and Y is that the way I draw my tick mark is what direction I want the line to go, with a dashed section. Less than 3 would be smaller, so it would be here. And then Y is greater than -4, so go to -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, because this is a Y graph, I wanted to go with the Y tick mark. So I want to go with a solid line going across. And greater than -4 would be true, so it would be above. And again, I'm giving myself a huge section for me to waste my ink, which would be right there. Also, feel free to dispute anything. I don't mind if you really think you're right and for some reason you think your teacher's just lost it. I try not to mess up officially, but hey, it does happen sometimes. Just bring it to me and see if you can, prove me wrong. I don't mind it. It's how I grow. Most of my intelligence is because I've screwed up a bunch. Y is greater than 3x minus 5, so 3x minus 5 means go down 5. 3 means go up 3. 1, 2, 3 over 1. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you to pause it, but I hope you did that already. Sorry. I just kind of want to get in there. Up 3 over 1 there. Dash line here. I think I did a good job of making sure you have a solid and a dashed on all these to make sure you learn to pay attention to that. I lost a lot of points doing that. 0 is greater than -5, which is true. So we go towards 0, 0. Y is less than or equal to 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, we want a vertical or horizontal line going there with solid horizontal line. Something like that. Again, most teachers won't mark you wrong if your line's not perfect, especially if you're doing it without grid paper. Less than 4 would be down. And so now we're looking at this section. So again, if there's an issue with that, let me know, or circle that problem and bring it up to me and discuss it and let me see what you did, and I can tell you. Because again, most of my intelligence is from screwing up. So whatever you did wrong, I can probably find it, because I've probably done the same thing at some point in my life. Graph the system here. Before I start, pause your video. I just keep forgetting. I think the best way to handle this is slope-intercept form, but I don't trust my way with that, so I'm going to do this the real way, where I send my y over here and my x over there, making it y greater than 4x minus 1, I believe. That'll be positive, that'll be positive. Minus 1 is there, so down 1, yes, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1 to put me there with a dashed line once again. Common sense tells me this doesn't go through 0, 0, even though my grid might be pretty close, so that's actually not that bad. 0 is greater than negative 1, which is true, so we will want to go towards 0, 0, which is to the left of that line, I think. Still haven't gained my confidence back. I believe that this one might be better if I use, we'll go ahead and do the y-intercept. Negative 4y less than greater than or equal to 2x minus 8. I'm going to mentally divide by 4, so y is greater than negative 1/2 x plus 2, because that'll be 2 over negative 4, 8 over negative 4, which means go up 2, which I believe is 1, 2, and then down 1, boop, over 2, bam. So that's terrible. 1 over down 1 over 2 puts me about there. Anyway, this is a solid line. I suggest you get graph paper if you're graphing as bad as me. And 0 is greater than negative 8, which is false, so we should be above. And that would put me here, I think. Don't want to make a mistake in front of everybody. I'm always nervous. Just learn to act confident. Go ahead and pause your video. And here we go. This is your x is greater than or equal to 0, which means that x can't be negative, so you're looking at your x must be greater than or equal to 0, which means that you're looking at everything on this side of the grid. Y is greater than or equal to 0, which means that that's y equals 0, tick mark going that way, means you're looking at everything above this section of the grid. It's kind of like the one where I had at the very end of the informational video, where you have to be in this section of the graph. And then x plus 2y less than 4, so that would be x equals 4 from what I see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, making sure my tick marks are visible. And then y is 2, so 1, 2, making sure my tick marks are visible. And I'm assuming, I actually don't want to assume, that's a, luckily that was both solid lines on that. Either way, dashed line on this one. And 0 is less than 4, which is true, which puts me there, which means I'm looking for everything in this grid below that line, which gives me a nice, beautiful triangle. So again, feel free to ask, feel free to stop at any point and ask me whatever questions you need to ask me. Again, the overall point here is make your mistakes, get your mistakes out of the way, figure out what you did wrong, and make sure you agree with yourself in terms of doing it the correct way, because practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanent. And what that means is if you practice something the wrong way over and over, you have simply mastered the art of doing it the wrong way consistently. So again, if you're messing up, make sure you're asking for help and trying to figure out what you did wrong. Number 8, pause the video, please. All right, here we go. X less than or equal to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, vertical line, solid, and I am going less than 4, which means I'm going towards 0, 0. Y, 3x plus 12, oh, this is going to be fun. This is a big number. 12. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then down 3 and over 1. Notice how these are shorter than that, which means I kind of shrunk the dimensions of this a little bit. But again, as long as you have the general idea, that's fine. Down 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1, which puts me about there. Dashed line on this one. Look how terrible that dash is. 0 is greater than 12, which is false, which puts me on this side of the line. This could be interesting. And then y is less than 9. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is there. The line should go across at least some sort of way, and that is a solid line, just to make sure before I write it. Less than 9 means I am going lower than 9, which means that this would go this way. And I think once again we are looking at a triangle. Don't just ever assume that you're always going to have a triangle. Sometimes you end up in that area, sometimes you end up over there. There's no telling where you're going to end up. You just have to let the graph actually tell you. I think one of the mistakes that I used to make was I assumed certain things, and then I would make a guess or kind of make a assumption. I guess I just said that. That's kind of redundant. And then the teacher would mark me wrong, and I'd be like, what happened? And I'd look again and say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Go ahead and pause. We got 2 more videos. Or 2 more problems. Absolute value. This is why I gave it to you, so we can make sure we know how to do it. And again, whenever you're doing an absolute value graph or a parabola, don't just put a random V somewhere, because if I don't have the marks, I really can't tell what's going on. But I am going 4 left and 2 down. And notice how my dot should be around 4, -2. Now I'm not looking for it to be perfect, but whenever I look at it, I should be able to say, yeah, that's about right. And then that is a regular, so we're going over 1, up 1, back 1, up 1. Dashed lines. Gonna love this picture. I have my confidence back now, by the way. That's how long it takes. And then 0, testing 0, I get 0 greater than, that'll be 4, because that's going to be 0 plus 4. So 4 minus 2, which means 0 is greater than 2, which is false, right? 0, 4 minus 2 is 2. I believe that's false, which means we're going to this side, which means we're on the inside of the, I don't think I need to do that. I can just remember I'm on the inside of the V. And then here, y is 5. Don't mess up, because I want to think about that as an x. Y is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. X is 15. Wow, how beautiful is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, which is here. And I believe it's going to make some sort of a triangle, but of course my window may not be big enough, although I did kind of fudge it a little bit. And this is a regular line. It actually did reach it, didn't it? Actually, again, don't assume it's a triangle. We don't know. It might be on that part. 0 plus 0 is less than 15, so 0 is less than 15, which is true. So yes, in this case, my assumption was true, because everything below that inside the absolute value would make a triangle once again. Again, it could be that portion. You just never know. Don't assume and be like me in my bad days. But hopefully you're getting this. Like I said, if you're not, be patient. Always feel free to watch this video again, or rewind to a video that you had an issue with and try it again. It never hurts, even though it seems like it'd be a waste to go back to this graph and try it out again. You're practicing the process, which means that as long as you're starting from scratch, as long as you're not looking at your notes, then you can actually do that with any problem that exists, even in a book. You could even, like, the Math XL helps because it does give you similar problems. But even if you only had a problem from your book that your teacher used a textbook, you could literally cover up the answer, do your work over here, and check line for line to see where you start drifting off, and teach yourself the process. And that would actually help you, because if you haven't learned by now, most of the things that you're learning are extremely repetitive. And once you understand what the pattern is, you can't really miss it anymore unless you do something silly like I did earlier, and hope I don't do again. Let's see. Pause your video. Sorry, I was talking a lot. Here we go. Okay, I can do this. I don't like dividing 4 by 6 because I know I'm going to have to do that. If you can see that, even if I move my 4 and ignored my y, I'd have to divide 4 by 6, which I don't like. I think I'm going to put this into slope-intercept form by moving and dividing at the same time. Let's see how good I am. It's going to be y is less than, because that's not going to change. This is going to be a -6 divided by a -2, which is 3x. This is going to be a -4 divided by a -2, which is +2, I believe. We'll see. 3x plus 2 here. Up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 1, 1, something like that, dashed line. Again, I hope I did that right. If not, feel free to dispute. I always love talking to you all. I get to see your brains grow every day. And then actually forgot to check. So 0, well, oh no, it's not 0. It's 4 is less than 0, which is false, which means we're going on this side of that. And then here we are going 1 right and 3 up, 1, 2, 3, which puts me here about. Then this is a regular absolute value, so over 1, up 1, yes, back 1, up 1, yes. Regular line for this. I love writing regular lines. So something like this and this, which I'm sure I screwed it up with my proportions. This doesn't look like a regular absolute value, but anyway. And then when we go to check, 0 is greater than 1 plus 3, which is 4. 0 is greater than 4 is false, which means we are jumping inside the absolute value, which means that we are not on that side of the line. We are here. So I do hope that helped. Less than it hurt. I could come up with thousands of questions, as you know, but there is one key fact. As long as you're working to master your graphing, things will be much easier for you. The shading does take time, but that is what review, practice, and questions are for. By now, you have to know the following things about graphing: how to graph an x equals graph, which is, I believe, this way, your vertical line. Y equals graph is horizontal. I think I put those the wrong direction. How to graph using intercepts, which is where you ignore x and ignore y. How to graph using slope-intercept form. And then mainly, as long as you get these down, number 4 has to become automatic, which is how to manipulate the problem to figure out what works best. Don't ever feel like you don't want to move because you feel like you're not sure. Just try it, and if it doesn't work, learn from your teacher. I do this all the time. It doesn't work, make an adjustment, go the other direction. I think most of my success is process of elimination. If you make 1,000 mistakes and keep staying in the same room, you're eventually going to find the way out. As stated earlier, your shading comes with practice. Your actual graphing skills should be almost mastered. If not, just be sure to plan time for tutoring or assistance. Most of your math classes from this point on will not go into depth for graphing these particular shapes because there's an assumption that if you're in 6th weight and you are at this point, that you have either fixed it on your own or you fixed it by going to the teacher and getting assistance. So they're not usually going to go into depth of showing you how to do absolute values again, showing you how to do the finding the alligator activity again, because they assume that you're working for mastery. So outside of that, remember that you need to answer this question for credit on your homework. And that is that. Hope I didn't bore you too much. Have a good day.